Hello ladies and gentlemen, in this video I'm going to be walking you through notes 5.2, which is all about molar conversions. So before we begin, let's review the difference between an atom and a molecule. So an atom is the smallest unit of matter, and it's composed of electrons, protons, and neutrons. So here I have an oxygen atom. A molecule is made up of atoms bonded together. So water is bonded with 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. So that is why it's a molecule. Now, if I had something like this, where I have 2 oxygens, this would actually be considered a molecule because it's more than 1 atom combined. Okay, so make sure that you understand an atom is just 1 element. So any of the elements on your periodic table. So 1 element. So copper, cobalt, vanadium. At any time we combine more than 1 atom, that makes it a molecule. All right, so in this part of the notes, we are going to be doing some math. Now, I'm going to be showing you 2 ways that you can do these problems. The first way is called using the mole sentence and proportions. And then the second way is setting up a math equation and either using this mole road here, which shows you how to multiply or divide, or using this mole road here, which is showing you the fraction that you would be using to multiply or divide. Okay, either or. It is important that you pick the way that makes the most sense to you. Now, I prefer to use this method here on the left only because I find that more students understand it better and it helps them later on with stoichiometry. Okay, so I'm going to be teaching you both ways on this very first problem, and then the rest of my notes will be divided up based on if you like setup number 1 or if you like setup number 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, and let's look at the very first problem. So here's my first problem. It says a reaction requires 2.50 moles of zinc oxide. How many grams would this equate to? Okay, so when we are given a problem, we first want to identify what is our given and what is our goal. Okay, so I can see in this problem that the 2.50, that is my given information. What I'm trying to find out, that is my grams. So that's what I'm going to call my goal. Now looking at the mole road, which is what I had you guys look at in the last slide, this is where we're going to be setting up a proportion. So I know what my given is. I just identified that. My given is my 2.50 moles. My goal is grams. I want to know how many grams that would be. Okay, so let's look at the steps. It says step 1 is to identify your given and your goal. We just did that. Step 2, determine the molar mass for ZNO. Now, the reason we need to know the molar mass is because we're going from moles to grams. So if I look at the mole road over here, I'm starting here with moles as my given, and I want to get to grams. So the way that I get there is by using the molar mass. Okay? So first I'm going to calculate my molar mass. So in ZNO, I have 1 zinc and I have 1 oxygen. If I look at the periodic table and I find zinc, it's right here, and I can see its molar mass is 65.38. Okay, now I believe it says 39 on your periodic tables. I used 8. When I find oxygen, oxygen is 16. So I add those up and I get 81.38. So now I know my molar mass. Step 3, set up your mole sentence. My mole sentence is going to be 1 mole of my element or compound, which in this example is ZNO, is equal to 81.38 grams, which is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules. So I just took my molar mass and I plugged it in here, and then I just determined that this was molecules. Step 4 is set up your proportion and solve for your goal. So my proportion, again, I'm going to look here. It's my given over my goal, and that's going to be equal to the mole sentence factor that matches the given over the mole sentence factor that matches the goal. So that's my given over my goal. Now here's my mole sentence. So what number goes with mole in my mole sentence? 1. Okay? So on this side, the number that goes with mole will always be 1. So I have 1 mole. Now what goes with grams in my mole sentence? 81.38. So there's my given over my goal equal to my conversion fact over my conversion fact. Now notice that these units must equal each other because you're setting up a proportion. That's why it's very important that you always label every number with a unit. Now to solve for my x, I just cross multiply. So 2.50 times 81.38 is going to be equal to 1 times my x. So when I multiply those together, I get 203.45 grams. Okay, and then step 5, I want to write my answer statement. So there are 203.45 grams and 2.50 moles of zinc oxide. Okay, so that is how we would do a problem that is given us moles and we're trying to go to grams. Now I'm going to do this exact same problem using the mole road. So here's the exact same problem, except now I'm going to be using the math equation. All right, so it's going to go a little bit quicker since we already know what our given and goal is, and because we've already calculated our molar mass. So those two steps are the same. What's going to be different now is we're using an equation. So there are 2 different pictures here that you can use. So looking at the very first picture, my given is moles. So I'm going to start here. I need to get to grams, which is right here. So following my arrow, I can see I need to do multiplication. So I'm going to take my given and I'm going to multiply it by the molar mass. Now, when I multiply it by the molar mass, you'll notice that this unit is going to cancel out with this unit, and that's going to give me my final unit, which is in grams. If I use this picture right here, I'm going to be starting in my given, which is moles, and I want to get to grams. So I'm going to follow the arrow this way, and I would be starting with my given, and I'd be multiplying it by, I'm going from mole to grams, so I'd be multiplying it by the molar mass. Okay, so the molar mass would be, this is my moles, so moles is on the bottom here, so it's the same thing, my 81.38 grams per mole. And that's going to give me the same answer that I have right there. Okay, so those are the 2 different ways that you can solve this problem. I'm going to make a few more videos, and I'm going to have them set up to go through the next examples that you will have in your notes. So make sure that you watch those.